Hey, y'all. This is Jonah Renee, and I have for a while been sharing my stories with you about how I've healed from eating by going on a plant-based diet. So I decided that I would like to interview others so that they can share with you how they have healed as well by going on a plant-based diet. So without further ado, I have Jay Boris with us, and he's going to share with us his journey, how he went plant-based, why he went plant-based, and the things that he was able to heal by going plant-based as well. I want to give a little quick background of how I met Jay Boris. I met Jay Boris through a group. It was a Facebook group, I want to say, and the Facebook group is I forget the name of the Facebook group, but it's all about raw vegan and healing by going raw vegan. I don't know if Jay Varys has gone raw vegan completely. I have not as of yet. I am high raw vegan, but I'll just let him tell his story to you. So welcome, Jay Varys. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you. You could just share a little bit of information about yourself if you'd like with us, just to introduce yourself a little bit further.
I'm extremely impressed with you saying my name correct.
Thank you. I've been
It
practicing
usually
all
doesn't come out
day
that way.
in my head. I'm
I
like,
don't
J
believe
bars,
that for a
J
second,
bars, J
but
bars.
you did a great job. And yeah, well, you already told our background about how we met. Just interested both in being raw vegan. And to answer your question, I would say, I mean, if you want to put a number on it, I would probably say I'm probably about 90% raw vegan.
Yeah.
So extremely high.
Hmm.
Sometimes 100%, for months at a time. But I'm human, of course, and every now and then I'll eat a little bit of cooked food because I still want to, enjoy life a little bit. When I'm
Yeah.
around family and around others, I don't want to really be that stickler of a person.
Yeah.
To go on vacation and not do nothing, not drink, not none of that. So there's still a little room for that. But as far as when I'm at home, my day to day, whether that be 310 days out the year, because I do a lot of traveling, I'm pretty much all raw vegan, you know.
Well, kudos to you because I can't say that I'm fully there yet. I'll say that I am high raw vegan. So I'd say about 80-20%, maybe 85%, just depending on the day. On the weekends, I do allow myself to eat a little bit more cooked foods, but for the most part, I am. And then the healthier you eat, I think the more your body becomes accustomed to eating this way and the less tolerable your body is to eating cooked food. So I have noticed that. So I'm kind of like, pushing more and more and more into the raw vegan side. But you can share with us too your
It's like
experience
every
with that.
so yeah, same as you. It's really just like that, it's hard to go cold turkey and just completely say, wake up one day and say, I'm going to be raw vegan. You'll be in for a
Yeah.
rude awakening. No matter how
Yeah.
much discipline you have, no matter how much strength and perseverance you have, the big thing about dieting or having a lifestyle like ours, you have to be realistic
Yeah.
with yourself. You know what I mean? And kind of, nobody knows yourself better than you do. So, I've been a bodybuilder my whole life. So I have had very structured, restrictive diets, whether that be no sweets, a little bit of carbs. So I was used to that. But this is a whole different level of discipline, you know what I mean? As far as going on a raw vegan diet and not having any cooked food, and not having those same feelings or, fulfillings or fulfillment for certain foods. So it was definitely an adjustment period that I gave myself. And if you want to know, like, again, I started this journey probably about 5 years ago, just really kind of dibbling and dabbling in it, going from vegan to vegetarian to periods of time with no food, no meat, transition to Presbyterian, I think you call it when you only eat seafood, just
Mhm.
trying all different things just to search for I guess that end goal of being healthy. Because when a lot of people talk about eating healthy, especially for me, when you talk about a bodybuilding diet and eating healthy, mostly we're talking about high protein, low carbs.
Yeah.
That's what Americans consider healthy. Even when I talk to people in the gym, well, I only ate a salad, for all day, so I'm eating healthy. Nobody really knows
Yeah.
the definition of eating healthy, right?
Yeah.
You can
Very
have a salad
subjective.
and then you put this,
Hmm.
yeah, this ranch dressing on it with 600 fat calories on it, and then that salad doesn't become healthy anymore. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to define the definition of healthy because although I looked amazing, on the outside as far as aesthetically, muscular, six pack, I didn't feel very, very good. I didn't feel
Hmm.
terrible, but I didn't feel like having low body fat doesn't always feel good. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
It does, and to get to that point and to maintain that point is extremely tough as well too. So I was searching for a filling, a filling, because I went to the doctor, and to my surprise, he said I had fatty liver and high cholesterol, and that's what kind of made me really lock in. Like I said, I was playing around a little bit every for 5 years, just doing little different things, but not necessarily taking it super serious. And then once I went to the doctor and got that diagnosis of high cholesterol and fatty liver, it kind of it changed something in me, right? Because
Hmm.
me, I've eaten healthy all my life, and so for somebody to tell me that, was just very, very surprising and shocking. And at that point, I just kind of went on a journey of like, I got to fix this, because I don't want to be in my 50s having heart attacks and all this stuff. So that's kind of how I transitioned to the plant based diet and doing the research and juicing and all these other different things, with all the information until I kind of figured it out.
So after your diagnosis of the fatty liver, what I guess what prompted you to go plant-based? I know that you have the fatty liver and everything, but what gave you the idea of, well, let me try plant-based? Like maybe this isn't working, maybe the meat's not working. Was it someone that you know that recommended plant-based, or was it just an idea that came to you or your intuition that led you that way?
Things that we all know, right? We know. I think if you're on social media for more than a day, the information there, it pops up in our feed, all these different things of how to heal ourselves, get rid of parasites. We see all of these things. And again, for 5 years, I've been researching it. And for the most part, we know what we need to do, right? If we want to work out and get a six pack, we know what we need to do. It is a matter of us actually doing it.
Hmm.
So I think I've already kind of known the knowledge just from, the Dr. CVs, I think the Yakis, Dr. CB children, even before that, the people who talk Dr. CB and just all the information there. So I already kind of knew the information. It was really a matter of putting it to the test. Because I've always believed that a good diet and proper nutrition would heal anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not a big fan of Western medicine. It's just really the application, of actually
Hmm.
doing it. And for me, it was, I didn't want to lose the look that I had.
Hmm.
I've spent all my life, I'm a shorter guy, 5'7". So I said, God didn't bless me to go up. So I said, I'll get wider. So since then, I've been on a journey of lifting weights, getting wide. So, and people know me for my size or just always being
Hmm.
muscular, maybe for the last 20 years. So, you know, going from, I'm already a short guy, didn't want to be a skinny guy. We all hear you got to have this amount of protein. That was really my only battle. Just so you got to have this amount of protein, you got to have, this amount of calories, all of this stuff that we hear that we know works, right? I know from a bodybuilding and, aesthetic place, I know it works. I know
Well,
macros and
I can say
cutting
that,
your
yeah.
carbs and all that stuff, right? I know how to get the perfect look, but
Hmm.
again, it's the inside that really matters. You understand what I'm saying? And as I
Exactly.
did more research and understanding cleansing blood, giving digestive systems a break, just different little methods, and I decided to just try it and said, you know what, I just may have to sacrifice this muscle, because it don't make no sense to be super muscular with high cholesterol. So
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
really kind of
It's
how
all
I
about quality of
just really
life. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
all
And I
about
tell
quality of
people all the
life,
time,
not about aesthetics and looking good. It's all about your quality of life. Is what it's really about. So I'm glad
right.
that you
And as you
mentioned
get older, again, it's an ego thing, right?
it. Hmm.
For women, sometimes they're not coming out the house without makeup on because that's just what it's an ego thing. For me,
Yeah.
again, I like the reactions I get, when I'm at the beach or whatever, or just looking a certain way. So trying to lose, risking losing all this muscle and all this stuff, it was tough for me. But again, you got to choose life over that. And as you can see, I'm still fairly muscular, not as much as I used to be. So I've kind of figured it out over the last 18 months of me just being, very, very high raw vegan. I've kind of figured it out a little bit and kind of put some of those stereotypes with massive amounts of protein. I kind of put those to the test, and it's worked out for me. It's worked out for me as well as
So,
others too. I got a community of guys too that I follow as well.
oh, okay, okay, you holding out on the information I was playing. No, no, that's very, very helpful. Initially, did you lose muscle mass by changing your diet? Initially, did you lose muscle mass and then regain it?
I did for sure. I did. Again, this has been a journey for 5 years. So I would go on raw diets for let's say 2 months, and I would lose massive amounts of weight, and then I would get scared, and I would start back eating meat, or I start taking protein shakes. So yeah, absolutely. When I first started, absolutely, but then I wasn't incorporating, the right proper amino acids in it, or the right types of foods in it. I had to really get that balance together, for me in order to. So absolutely, I lost weight like instantly,
Yeah.
so again, it was a mental thing, to where, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, but like the body's made for survival. So just like anything else, the body adjusted, the body
Yeah.
will adjust to whatever diet you're doing. um so
So, what
did that
is
answer your
your
question?
You did. Yes, you definitely did. Thank
Okay.
you. What does your typical diet look like now? Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like, what do you typically eat on a daily basis?
Right now, I'm actually just starting to cut since July 1st, so I'm starting to lose a little weight. So my diet now is I fast until noon,
Okay.
so I don't eat. I pretty much right now I'll eat after this, but typically I go to the gym 4:30, 6:30, and then I make sure I'm done eating by 8. And then again, I won't eat to noon or further, just really depends, but definitely not before noon. So sometimes I'll fast 16, 18 hours, sometimes 20 hours. But I'll make sure that I get my calories in. I mean, I typically break my fast. With a smoothie bowl, a smoothie bowl that I make. Kind of, I don't know if you go to Tropical Smoothie or some of these smoothie places now they do the smoothie bowl, but I make my own. So
Yeah.
I make a smoothie bowl. Got about 600 calories, different fruits, a lot of flax seeds, chia
Mhm.
seeds. All those little things to give me a little bit of protein. So I'll do
Healthy
that prior
fats
to the
too,
gym,
omega
along with the
threes.
banana. Yeah, so about 800 calories
Mhm.
before, and then I'll eat about 1,500 calories after I'm done with the gym. And again, just another big smoothie, watermelon seasoning, probably 400 or 500 grams of watermelon. But I feel definitely eat avocado every day, at least one avocado every day, if not two. But most of my calories, I would say, come from a smoothie, like really, really heavy calorie smoothies.
A lot of
And then I eat
fruits.
a bunch of different nuts. So a lot of fruits for sure, and
Mhm.
a lot of nuts,
Okay.
walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and of course I take a lot of vitamins and different things like that.
Okay.
So I focus, like I said, about 2,200 calories broken down in two meals, which, like I said, you can pack a lot of calories in smoothies,
You
a
really
ton of
can.
calories, depending on
Hmm.
what you do. So that's my diet now.
Yeah, it can be really, really dense, nutritionally dense. Your smoothies can be. Okay, you answered a lot of questions actually in one. Let me flip and see what else I
Oh,
got
okay.
for you. Because
Well, I mean, to say that I originally, I tried things on my own. And again, it took a while, but I actually reached out to another guy who was plant-based, another plant-based bodybuilder, and
hmm.
kind of took a little bit from him. He still took different proteins and stuff. So I took a lot of his meal plans and then just kind of put my stuff in it, since I didn't
Okay.
want to do a lot of protein powders and things like that. Because they got
Hmm.
plant-based protein powders, but there, again, there's levels to being plant-based as well, too, right? Because I
That's
don't do the
true.
Beyond Meats. I don't do the proteins, plant-based protein. I may do it every now and then, but definitely not nothing consistent. I am more of the extreme plant-based person. If it doesn't grow, I don't eat it kind of things. Not
Hmm.
none of the stuff that's created or made up.
Yeah. I'm glad you just said how you don't like to go out and order like the smoothie bowls and stuff like that. I'm the same way because, I've tried and I'm like, all right, well, what do you put? Like, I'm the one asking like the million questions. All right. So, okay, this is acai bowl. What's in your acai? I don't know. It's acai. Well, can I see the package?
I don't know. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Because
it's
I
all
need to read.
packaged
Is it
stuff
made with
again.
sugar? Like, what is it made with honey? Like, what are we putting in this? Like, yeah. So I'm okay. So you use
Absolutely.
plant-based
Yeah.
milk. What type of plant-based milk? Oh, it's coconut milk. Okay, well, can I see the type of coconut? Do y'all make it in house, or like what
hmm
type of coconut milk are
hmm
you using? Like we put what we
And
put
instead
in
of going through all of that,
fillers?
I just kind of do it on my own. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I travel, I try to avoid it all costs. Like I said, I only said that 90-10 because I travel, quite a bit. So
Hmm.
when I travel, it's really, really hard to maintain the same diet as I have at home. But
Yeah.
typically when I'm at home, unless it's a holiday or I'm having a party or family coming over, we're talking all raw vegan.
Yeah.
Um, that's really what it is. Because I love the feeling. It's I don't know if you're going to talk about this later, but if you've ever been on a raw vegan diet, like there's a euphoric feeling that's very, very hard to explain. Like
Yeah.
almost kind of walking on air. And I don't discuss
Hmm.
this with a lot of people because I don't think people understand it. Like you almost feel like you feel so light. And I'm over 200 pounds, but when you're on a raw diet and like really, really locked in, it's a very, very
It's like you
euphoric feeling that
floating.
comes with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It truly is. It's almost like you floating like a natural high.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of definitely keeps me motivated. That feeling there, I think it's a feeling that only can be achieved that way.
I'm glad that you brought that up too. I do want to ask you, did you detox before going into this lifestyle?
Absolutely. I detox every 6 months.
Okay.
I've used I don't know if you heard of Yaki detox. I've used Bobby Johnson, and right now my end goal is to be an herbalist. I've tried a few things, and I don't have mine yet. But so if you've heard of Bobby Johnson, he's a doctor. Uh,
Mhm.
he
I'm
was a
familiar with
you,
him.
you heard of
Mhm.
Bobby Johnson. So I've used his detox, and I do it at least every 6 months. I try to do a detox every 6 months.
Yeah, I think detoxing is really, really important because it's not just the foods, it's the environment too that we're in. So you just can't really get
Mhm.
around it. And then the foods that we
Yeah.
that we're currently eating now are not the same foods that, our ancestors ate because the ground is just like not full of the same minerals that it was before. And then they have
Love
so
it.
much genetically altered foods. We barely have seeds and stuff in our fruits, so it's just not the same. So yeah, detoxification is definitely necessary.
Especially, people get detoxes and cleanses confused. Detox you before you do any cleanse or start any different regimen, you should definitely detox your body so
Hmm.
that when you do put all the nutrients from the cleanse in and the smoothies and the salads and all that stuff, your body will take to it, right?
Yeah,
You starting, I don't want to say from scratch, but you're starting, at a cleaner, a cleaner scale or level, so your body can actually absorb all those nutrients and different things like that.
exactly. Exactly.
So you definitely,
Hey, Jay
before you do
Varus with
anything,
the
you should get
knowledge. You better hit him with the knowledge, Jay Varus. Um, So then you briefly touched upon the feeling, the more of a euphoric feeling that you have by eating this way, and that definitely keeps me motivated and is encouraging me to go all raw one day, hopefully soon. But let's just talk about, have you noticed a connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit after going this way? Did you notice, like, okay, well, maybe you went into this, like you said, because you had these problems like the fatty liver and stuff like that, but then all of a sudden you notice that there is a connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit after eating this way. Were you able to appreciate that?
100%. Absolutely. It's put me in a space, definitely has put me in a space that I probably never thought that I would be in, because I wasn't a super religious guy or none of that. I believed in God and all that stuff, and but I think definitely with the raw diet is probably the first time I actually talked to God vividly. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or got those feelings or those overwhelming feelings, knowing that there is a higher power. Like we know, but we don't know. But
Hmm.
definitely by going through the raw diet and different fasts and stuff like that, you definitely get an opportunity to get closer to God.
Yeah.
With struggle comes God. So for sure, 1,000%. And again, it's so hard to explain and say it and talk about it because
It is.
it's one of those things that you almost have to experience on your own,
Hmm.
or somebody experienced it with you that you can kind of communicate that with. But definitely, it really, I've gotten woke up with such overwhelming feelings of joy and and just stuff you can't even explain. And I got a
Yeah.
big vocabulary, and sometimes you still just can't explain it.
Yeah, you can't put it into words all the time. But yeah, definitely like you were saying, I went into this journey. I don't think that I purposefully went into this journey. I think that I was kind of called to go into this journey. God just like really put it on my heart. It's okay for like 2 years to do a fast. So just do a juice cleanse, if you will. So I did my juice cleanse. And during the juice cleanse, it just kind of like, took me on this journey to self-love that I did not realize that I did not have. Because if you would ask me before, like, yeah, I love myself. Like, what do you mean? But I did not realize that I didn't truly have love for myself. So he just really showed me that I didn't. He showed me the things that I need to change within my life and just really work on. And I have been working on those things. And I had to, crazy enough, I had to get rid of a lot of things, a lot of people in life too that I never ever thought that I would have to let go of, that I had to let go of just because they weren't serving a purpose in my life anymore. So, but since, doing that, I feel so much better. I feel so much more at peace in life, which is just crazy just to have that peace. I've never had that feeling before in life. I've
Okay.
never just felt genuinely happy, but yeah, I do. Yeah, it's crazy, but
Understand. And I mean, when you go on journeys like this, of course, especially you talking food, like you will lose a lot of friends or people. It may be in my family because everything is associated with food. Like
hmm
everything. Every event, every time we go out, any dates and anything is going to go back to food. That's
yeah.
just people happy place and where people come together. So, anytime you are limiting yourself, in those arenas, then you definitely will. Because I mean, I'm a person that I don't like to put myself in positions, that could allow me to mess up.
hmm
So I'm not going to no, fancy buffet or something, knowing that, I'm doing XYZ on my journey because I don't want to fall off, right?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of willpower, but I'm just real big on not putting myself in positions.
Yeah.
Some things you can't avoid, right? But a lot of times you have to, especially when you're new to the journey, and you're new to it and you're not able to you haven't developed that strong will. Like I can cook food for my son, meeting him right now and don't bother me at all. But it's,
hmm
it took a while to get there.
Yeah.
The first time it was, you bring some Popeyes around, it's a problem. But now none of that stuff really bothers me because, I like I'm looking forward to the future and the future goals.
Yeah. But I like to say that you said that you still cook for your son. So same thing for me. Well, I was cooking for my son, but then something within me, I'm just like, I don't want to cook meat anymore. So like it's been a month and I'm like, I don't do meat. I don't handle meat. Like it's just not. So if you want to do it, then you go ahead and he cooks. Like my son could cook, but I'm just like, if you want to do the meat thing, then that's on you. I'm trying to encourage him to, go plant-based, but that's a whole struggle. So I'm looking forward to him and showing him, this interview and everything with you so he can see that you can build muscle because that's his thing right now. He wants to build muscle. So he can see that you can build muscle by eating plant-based. So hopefully that can be, helpful to
I don't
him.
want to get to the point where I'm like disgusted with handling it and stuff. I feel like I will get to that point though, something very
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know if you saw a while back, Maya, the singer, she's a vegan, the
Oh, really?
old singer.
A
Yeah. And
lot
once
of,
she said,
no, go
yeah,
ahead.
probably about an interview about 10 years ago, she said she can't even date a meat eater because she smell it on their breath and stuff. And I was like,
Really?
that's extreme. I was like, that don't make no sense. But now I can kind of, I think that could possibly be,
Yeah.
I think at some point in my life, I think that could possibly that could possibly happen. I think
Yeah,
that
probably.
back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
nobody who don't understand it, it's like, what is she talking about? She doing too much. But
Yeah.
now being in this space, I can understand what she's talking about. I
Yeah.
truly can.
Your senses do
Although again, I'm
change. They are heightened
your
for
senses do
sure.
change. They're definitely heightened.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't want to get to the point where like I don't want to handle it and and all this stuff. I don't want to. I never want it to become that, because then you don't be you get away from being relatable to people,
I thought the
and
same
being
thing
because
too. But I
overall
feel
you
like
still
I'm not
want.
being the most authentic version of myself by doing that. It's just what I feel. I just felt like a conflict within myself. It's like, and
I get it. I get it.
yeah, so I had to let
I
that
get
go.
it. I mean, hey, whatever works for you, like you know best.
Yeah.
I may get to that point. I don't want to actually get to that point because I want to be able to be relatable, and
Yeah.
have these conversations. Because still to this day, people still believe I like eat meat or whatever because I'm so big. Nobody ever believes it. People closer to me in my circle, they understand. They know, they've seen me do it for a while. So
Yeah.
everything is believable to them. But, it helps, because during this journey, we still want to, I don't want to say flip or transition people, but we still want people to, come on this side, right? Get
Hmm.
that feeling, start taking advantage of all this knowledge, just testing it
Yeah.
out, because you hear so many people complaining about so many different problems. I mean, it could be anything from skin to smells to, rashes. Like
Yeah.
this can heal anything.
Yeah.
Like that's what I tell people. When you get down to your last and nothing else is working, we don't want it to get there. But if you are there, try this. Once you try this, I think you'll be satisfied, and then we'll see
Yeah.
what happens from there.
But I think it's just all about planting seeds. That's what I'm all about. It's just planting seeds, just giving you the knowledge. And you may not pull the trigger now, but maybe 5 years from now, I do remember that she said, this about eating healthy. And I like what you said also about hitting rock bottom. Unfortunately, that's what it takes for most people to get to that point where you do hit rock bottom and you do see that you need to make a difference in your life because you only get one body, you know what I'm saying? And that your health is your wealth. If you can't move around like you want to move around, like that's when you start to have that wake up call, like, oh, well, maybe I do need to make some changes within my life. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's
Well,
kind of
in
what
the
it
black
takes.
community as a whole, just to add on to that, just in the black community as a whole, we are emergency care versus preventative care. Like that's just
Yeah,
what it is. We gotta wait till we have a heart attack to make some changes. We gotta wait
unfortunately.
till we pre-diabetic before we make some changes. Again, we
It's sad
emergency
but
care
true.
versus preventative care. So I'm always been on the side of preventative care before we even get to this point. Like let's go ahead and nip it in the bud, you know what I'm saying? Before we even get to
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, yeah,
So
for sure. But everybody's not like that. What was the
mhm.
most difficult thing for you to give up being plant-based or raw vegan? What would you say?
To me, honestly, for me, again, I've always done restrictive diets. But if I just had to choose something, so nothing was super difficult to me other than looking at my body change. You know what I mean? My physique, like, oh my gosh, I'm not as hard as I used to be, like that type of stuff. But as far as food, I would say crawfish.
Okay. I mean, crawfish is big in Louisiana and Texas. Like, that's a big
I'm from
deal.
Louisiana for sure. It was a huge deal. And I actually did have some this year. I detoxed right after. I had some
What?
twice.
You had
I
some
said, let me
crawfish.
award myself. I had some twice, and I did a detox, and I was disgusted with myself after. But it was worth it for that for that minute. And that's what I kind of mean by being,
It's tough.
flexible.
Hmm.
It's definitely tough, but I just decided that I would do it. But then again, I'm already healed, completely. If you're
Hmm.
having an issue, I would say this: if you're having an issue, like you may need to go cold turkey, and
Yeah.
until you get yourself healed. Once you're healed, you may can go back and have a piece of chicken or a steak or whatever, not making it consistently, but heal yourself first,
Hmm.
prior to going back into that space. You know what I mean? Like make sure
Yeah.
that you are good to go. You can't be halfway in it, trying to heal yourself still doing bullshit. Sometimes
Yeah.
when you get too extreme or you get to a point where you gotta have to go cold turkey. Then once you heal, maybe you can implement a few little things here and there. So
Have a few treats.
I,
Now, I
I ain't
will
even gonna say a
say,
weak moment. I just
I will say that going into
So
like the
what?
grocery stores, like in Texas, like crawfish is huge, and Louisiana too. But just going into like the grocery stores, like HEB, and they're cooking the crawfish, and that I'm gonna tell you, it smells good, and they have it like right by the produce section. I'm like, dang, it smells. So it's
Do a lot of
hard
my shopping in
sometimes.
the farmers market and the Chinese
Oh
markets.
yeah,
Chinese
uh-huh.
markets have all the best fruit, like all of the. They have a lot of good stuff in those Chinese markets. They're really really slept on, very slept
Yeah,
on. A
you
lot of
know, I frequent them from time to time. Sometimes they can be a little pricey, just depending on where you go. I've gone to like 99 Ranch and stuff, and this one is called H Mart. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but
on
yeah, they can be a
TikTok, I
little bit,
heard of it.
huh?
Said
H
it's on
Mart.
TikTok, I heard of it.
I don't
TikTok.
know if
I'm
it's
pretty
on
sure I'm in
TikTok.
H Mart.
Yeah, it's not too far
Everybody's
from
doing
99 Ranch,
reviews.
but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's on TikTok. If you know, there's so many food reviewers and store
Yes, they
reviewers, so it definitely pop up.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Mhm.
like you said, it can be tough. Like for me, my biggest struggle actually was like French fries. I'm not gonna lie, because like
Mm.
I take my son, to get Chick-fil-A or something like that, and I'm always like, okay, give me a fry, give me two fries. Like that was always my thing. But then I was like, dang, I gotta give up this fry addiction. So just giving up French fries was like tough. So I mean, he got to the point to where he'd be like, "So you don't want no fries? What's up?" I'm like, "No." He'd be like, "Okay, good. Like more for me." But yeah, I think that was
Well,
my
yeah, even if you eat a French fry, you're still vegan, right? So
yeah, but
yeah.
I just yeah, I just need to give it up. And I don't agree with I guess the oils and stuff that they cook it in and all that. Just I'm just yeah.
But again, that's one of those things. Like I said, we also got to understand where we live,
Mhm.
and we can only do the best we can. I do one of my end goals is to move to like Thailand or somewhere, or one of the blue zones. I don't know if you know what the blue zones are,
I'm very
like high
familiar. Look,
vegetarian
I'm
plant
trying to
based. Yeah,
get up out of here
I really
too.
I wouldn't mind doing that. At some point in my life within the next 10 years or so, going to do that, and I would really, really enjoy that. I think so. It's kind of been on my mind to do that, as well as I can absolutely live like a king, for sure.
For
Over there
sure.
in those places, with the amount of money I make now, whatever case, it would be amazing. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think it would be a lot easier, living in those type of places. But you
It
can only do
is.
what you can do here in America. You can only do what you can do
Hmm.
here in America. Do as best as you can. Right now, I'm actually looking for somebody to help me start my garden, so that'll help out a
That's the
lot.
best
But
way.
you know,
You know exactly what you're eating with that. But yeah,
mhm.
but like you said, the blue zones, that's where it's at. Because I went to Costa Rica last summer and spent the summer out there, and it was just a really good experience. It was
The
very
whole summer.
peaceful. Yeah, for the whole summer. Me and my son, I mean, I would want to move out there, but my son was like, I ain't trying to have it, but I'm like, you live your life later. I gotta live my life now, but I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it was really peaceful. It's very healing. The food is completely and totally different from it is here in the US. Like everything is just so much fresher there. So like just like you're saying, that's why people live longer there. That's why they live happier lives because they spend most of their time is like outdoors. Like everything is outdoors. Like all the restaurants and everything, they're outdoors. Like you see people hanging out outside. They're not inside like all the time like we are. And they're absorbing all the vitamin D and the sunlight, and that, helps you to be healthier too. So yeah, it's a different world, like you said. But yeah, Thailand, the same thing. I thought about moving to Thailand too. That was the two places that were like at the top of my list, Thailand and then also Costa Rica. But yeah, for
I
sure.
we'll have to talk. I want to visit them first, but I mean, there's even a
Mhm.
blue zone in California. I can't remember what it's called, but I plan on visiting all of them within the next 10 years, and then
Yeah.
you know,
Just get
I'm
a
still
feel
on
and
this
yeah,
lifestyle.
see what's best for
Mhm.
you. Absolutely. Well, I think our time is about to run out, actually. I just got like a notification about maybe 10 minutes ago. So I don't think we have that much longer, maybe 4 minutes, I'm going to say. But thank you so much for coming on, Javaris, and sharing your story, sharing that, yes, you can build muscle on a plant-based diet. And he's also, there we go,
Little
Flex
muscle.
Forum. Is it Thursday already? Is it
Oh,
Thirst
God.
Trap Thursday? No, I'm playing. Oh.
Uh-huh.
But yes, you definitely can build muscle and you can maintain muscle on a plant-based diet. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.